Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watch What, and thanks for logging on. Today, we're looking at this Rolex Oyster Perpetual Datejust reference 16220, 36 millimeters in brushed and polished stainless steel. On this, the 70th anniversary of the release of the original Rolex Datejust, I've got a watch here for you with two standout features that mark it as one of the most memorable of that distinguished series. This watch has an extraordinary salmon sunburst dial, metallic grained with rayon projecting outward from the cannon pinion. It's incredibly dramatic. And then outboard of that dial, the unusual, rarely seen, and really quite subtly beautiful Rolex engine-turned bezel. This is not the conventional fluted white gold that you're used to seeing with the Rolex Datejust. It's a less common treatment that's distinctive and memorable in its own right. So I want to highlight the features of this unusual Datejust, talk a little bit about the Datejust history, and give you a sense of how it looks and feels on the wrist. So let's talk about it on the wrist. First and foremost, it's the classic Datejust proportion. Broad lugs, conforming end links, a Jubilee bracelet. It's got a little bit of a look of a sports watch to it, as every Datejust from the first in 1945 has featured Rolex's Oyster Perpetual combination. Oyster for the water-resistant case, Perpetual for automatic winding. And in fact, in 1945, the Datejust was the first watch to combine both a jump date with a water-resistant case and automatic winding. Winston Churchill was one of the first customers, and I always like to mention that Churchill's wrist, according to Rolex's own records, was 7.5 inches in circumference. So if you've got a big burly tree trunk wrist, hey, if it was good enough for Churchill, it's good enough for you. Now my wrist is 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference, and it fits beautifully. Now it does read a bit bigger than 36 millimeters because the Rolex case, flaring out wide at the lugs with that integrated end link on both flanks, really reads a bit bigger than a conventional 36 round watch. This is not a small mid-century design. It's something that remains robust and full-bodied in the 21st century. It was ahead of its time in a lot of ways, and not just in terms of its mechanical technology, definitely the look. Sits flat on the wrist, and you can see that distinctive knurled engine-turned bezel gives a dress cuff ample opportunity to slide up and over the sapphire. The flanks of the case really don't project that high above the wrist. Again, my wrist is 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters, so getting a good ergonomic fit means having a strap or a bracelet that's able to curve around the tight bends of my wrist. It's more flat across the top and bottom than it is round, so with an oval profile, this Jubilee 5-link bracelet is the perfect companion to this rather formal-looking Datejust. Now, the Datejust can be as sporty or as formal as you like, and the models that have been built over the last 70 years tend to run the gamut from the very sporty, like the rotating bezel turnograph models used by the U.S. Air Force in the 1950s, to examples like this, which feature that machine-turned textured bezel, an unabashedly dress-style, formal, sunburst salmon dial with applied white gold Roman numerals and an outboard sector or train track chapter ring. And that combination pairs beautifully with the Jubilee. The sportier ones, I tend to prefer the 3-link Oyster bracelet. For a model like this that really has so much personality and refinement to it, the Jubilee is perfect. And the Jubilee sits like silk upon the wrist. It doesn't feel like a sports watch bracelet. It feels like a completely unbolstered, soft calfskin or lizard skin bracelet, or strap I should say. The very softest of the soft, and it's an excellent ergonomic match for your wrist no matter what the shape of your wrist. Now I want to call out the fact that it also features the Oyster style clasp. So ergonomically, you have everything that you associate with a Rolex sports watch: a bracelet, an Oyster style clasp, and an Oyster style case. So you can take this thing in the water. 100-meter water resistant twin lock crown, that's 330 feet. This can get wet. Although I like to say it is a more refined, elegant, dress-oriented Datejust, make no mistake, the pedigree is there. This is the same kind of watch that you can wear to the beach during the day and then to dinner at night. So don't mistake it for a one-trick pony. This is a versatile timepiece. But when we move inboard of this machine-turned, engine-turned bezel, you can see why I highlight the formality of this particular example, this 16220. And it is because of the combination of those applied, traditional polished white gold Roman numerals, white gold hands, and the incredible effect of that sunburst salmon dial. Now, I don't know if it plays as well over the iPhone as it does in person, but it has tones of pink and copper and bronze and red to it. Just like salmon itself, it's got depth, it's got luster, and it shifts as you move it through the light. Along with that polished 5-point white gold Rolex coronet and that outboard sector or railroad chapter ring, this dial has a lot of personality. And it is a tritium dial. There are small dots of tritium lume outboard of each of the Roman numerals. So back in its day, it was a lumed sports watch. Now the lume no longer glows, but it's to your advantage because that lume has patinaed ever so slightly to become more consonant with the tone of the salmon dial and blend in even more perfectly. If it marred the look of the watch originally, now it's a beautiful complement, a companion to that salmon dial. Of course, the namesake of the watch, the jump date, remains highly visible, highly practical. In a sense, it's the only complication anyone needs. It's the everyday complication that you'll always use, and it's a nice color contrast with the salmon of the dial. Automatic winding as ever, this watch contains Rolex's caliber 3135. Now, the 3135 is, for all practical intents and purposes, a modern Rolex movement. So the nice thing about this watch is, in addition to being able to wear it in any situation, you can also wear it like a sports watch, with a free-sprung balance, a full balance bridge for toughness and shock resistance and accuracy in the face of shock resistance. This watch has the same movement that was featured in the contemporary Rolex Submariner and Sea Dweller, so you know it's going to be tough. It's also a COSC certified Swiss chronometer, so you know it's going to be accurate. And with a Breguet overcoil hairspring made in-house by Rolex, it's also resistant to those nights when you're going to put it like this on your dresser, like this on your dresser, possibly dial down. It has that positional resistance that you get from the Breguet overcoil design. A 4 Hz 28,800 vibration per hour design, completely contemporary in that respect. I mentioned the perpetual aspect because in Rolex speak, perpetual means it winds itself and never runs down. And it has the bidirectional winding that Rolex prefers. Much more refined than unidirectional. It's not quite as efficient, but what it is silky smooth. There's never that unweighted wobble of a rotor in its non-winding direction, such that you'll find on unidirectional systems. So this is an excellent example of one of the most memorable formal biased Datejusts that I've seen, and it is the combination of this engine-turned bezel. Again, this is in steel, just like the case, so you don't have to worry about it wearing down like gold. And that salmon sunburst dial. Add the polished white gold Roman numerals, and it really completes a stunning effect. Perfectly paired with this alternating brushed and polished 5-link Jubilee bracelet. This is an excellent way to get into Rolex if you're looking for your first Rolex, or if you're a seasoned collector and you just want a stunning, rare, beautiful, but very wearable Datejust to mark the 70th anniversary of the type. I have a feeling this Rolex Oyster Perpetual Datejust reference 16220 36mm just may be the watch you want.